10 years ago, Dollface, Pin-Up Girl, and The Man in the Mask first graced our screens and incited terror into our hearts with their methodical and unnerving sadisticness. Today, they return as empty shells. The Strangers Prey at Night is the sequel to 2008's The Strangers, and whilst this has been out for months in the USA, it has only just been released in the UK, and as a fan of the original, which I think is one of the most underrated horror movies, I naturally wanted to view the sequel. The film is directed by Johannes Roberts, who directed 47 Meters Down, and it stars Christina Hendricks, Bailee Madison, Martin Henderson, and Lewis Pullman as the generic family who go out to stay with relatives in the trailer park, where they end up being terrorized by the infamous trio who have already murdered their relatives. Not one of the original actors reprises their role in this, which is to be expected due to it being a decade old, and the killers all wearing masks tends to make it easier to recast these characters. But that fact alone is basically a metaphor for this film, because apart from 2 scenes, nothing about this is The Strangers. In the original, the trio spend the entire movie toying with the couple before methodically executing them. In this, I won't be around it, they don't do that much toying and go for the kills so sloppily. I'm surprised there was any kill count in this film. Had this family been a little smarter, these 3 would have failed miserably, but luckily they found the dumbest family ever. I will get to talking about the family, but firstly I want to acknowledge how much they messed these 3 up. In the first one, their logic as to why was because you are home. A simple and eerie motive, with the logic they were not targeting anyone in particular, they just wanted to kill. And Dollface has some sort of remorse grabbing a Bible at the end. In this, their logic downgrades to why not? And that is uttered by Dollface. I probably care too much about this here, but to go from an innocent because you are home to a giggling college girl saying why not was quite the jump in logic, and for me it ruined the most iconic of the trio. Pin-Up gets effectively relegated to a cameo in this film, with the only good scene coming in the trailer where she says we've just started. Apart from that, she is just kind of there. And The Man in the Mask, I'll be honest, he did have the best scene, and it's the only time I genuinely got the feeling I was seeing the original Method Strangers. Spoilers here, though I will be as vague as possible. Basically, he gets in the truck next to an incapacitated member of the family, he puts the radio on, and slowly kills the incapacitated person before turning the radio off. All in complete silence. Now, that is the Strangers we know and love. The other Strangers-esque scene involves Dollface mockingly giggling. Other than that, these 3 are sloppy as hell, and by the end you begin to wonder whether they are just copycatting the original trilogy, which would not be outside of the realms of possibility in film. Now, the family, the ones we should be rooting for, are not only idiotic, but are unlikable and at times insufferable. A generic dad trying to be hip with the kids, a generic mum role, generic angsty teen, and generic jock kid. That's all you need to know about this family. There was a hint of backstory, where the daughter is about to be sent to a boarding school because she's effectively a rebellious wild child that only serves to make the parents unlikable. But other than that, there is no development or reason to care about any of them. The son delivers his lines in the style of the meta emojis in the Emoji Movie. The father seems bored to be there, and the daughter's dialogue is just be angry or hard to make out through overacting stutters. Christina Hendricks' mother character at least has some range demonstrated, but even half her dialogue is delivered as if asking if she could be killed off yet. It is honestly just very bland, and the stupidity is off the charts. Seriously, if your kid comes up to you almost breaking down and saying there are dead bodies, don't ask to see the bodies, just get the hell out of there. This family is effectively asking to be murdered. Also, good drinking game to play for this. Take a shot every time they say leave us alone. They constantly shout that, and after the bodies start to appear, you would think they would guess that shouting leave us alone will not be a very good tactic. Honestly, this film just can't decide on what approach it wants to take. As honestly, it starts off really well with the teasing and the classic is Tamra home, and even gives a sort of good excuse for nobody having a phone to call somebody. But even that goes down the drain when it was revealed that the Strangers knew that the family were coming and were waiting for them. The whole point is, They knock on houses, and if the person is home, they kill them. If they already knew this family was coming, then why bother with the "is Tamara home" stick? Especially twice. They do this thing twice. They are no longer just randomly finding people to mess with and kill. They are targeting this family. This effectively becomes a generic slasher movie with how gung-ho the strangers get. And outside of the three masks, any essence of the original is gone. If the film was going for satire, they really did not commit to it, and the film does suffer for it. Credit where it's due though. As I said, there are a couple of good scenes, and for the most part, aside from the kill attempts, the strangers' mannerisms are intact. Also, when the family does figure out they can fight back, it can become entertaining. But my god, considering the man in the mask is supposed to be just another guy, he really activates his inner Jason towards the end. Tonally, they could have fixed this film with just a few tweaks to the soundtrack and better framing and atmosphere. As it stands though, we have some of the most laughable cinematography I have seen in a long time, deaths that are needless and dumb, and a film that didn't know how to approach itself. I'm not going to beat around it. The Strangers, while not going quite full Elm Street 2, is a big disappointment and does miss a lot of the points that made the first one so memorable. If this was called something else, then it could have worked, but just having the Stranger's name slapped on it really damaged the film in terms of expectations. It is a shame, but without those few scenes I mentioned, this would be one of the worst films of the year. As it stands though, this film is just lukewarm. So, Strangers Pray at Night, has everybody seen it? Let me know down in the comments below what you thought. And as always, hit that round subscribe button for more reviews coming all the time. This is That Spikehead Podcast, signing off.